Let's get started with our module 3. In this module, we will look at some of the fancy input and output tools Sikuli X gives us, and also we will look at selection in Python that allow us to add condition in our Sikuli script. And we will also modify our calculator automation and use the conditional statements in it. Let's move ahead. Interacting with user is quite important, and it is a great way for us to sharpen our conditional automation skills. New in Sikuli X over its previous version is some nice GUI pop-up that can give information to user or receive information from them. Sikuli X handles this really well, and it is simple as it gets to use. Let's look at the 6 functions available to us. First 3 are output boxes. We have pop-up, which does exactly it sounds. It creates a dialog with text that we give it and an optional title as well as an OK button that will close it. Then we have pop error, which is same as pop-up, but it shows an arrow symbol alongside the text. Then we have pop ask, which is same like pop-up. However, instead of OK button, here we have yes and no button, and ask user to choose between them so that we can use to take the actions accordingly. Other 3 are input boxes, which allows us to receive input from the user of the script. Input function will give a simple input box with an OK and cancel button. We can also optionally give this window a prompt such as what country you live in. We can also optionally give it a default answer, an optional title for the window, and also optionally set hidden true to turn the field into password field, which hides the input character. We then have input text, which works similar to input. However, it is much bigger box and can be customized to even bigger in size. The last one we have is select. It provides a pop-up with a drop-down list. User can select from a list of options available, such as whether they want to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Now let's give this input-output tools a try so that we can get comfortable and we can use them later in our decision-making scripts. Let's move over to Sikuli XID. We have come over to the Sikuli XID. Now let's use the input-output tools we have just seen previously. So first, let's define a variable called name equals, and let's use the input, and inside the parenthesis write the text that enter your name and close parenthesis. Now let's use the pop-up function, and here let me write hello concatenation operator and the text we have stored in the variable name, and let's give the optional title, that is hi. So we have given the pop-up which has title hi and which will say that hello to the text stored in the variable name. So let's give it a try. First let's save it. This is our input output tools. So let's save it, and now let's run it. It is asking our name, so let's see, that is ABC, and it is showing the pop-up with the title optional option. The title is optional. If you will not give the title, that is also fine, but here in our case the title is hi and the text will be hello ABC. Let's give a space here so that it will be in proper readable form. Then now let's use the input text. So let me define a variable to store that. Let's say that is my text, and here let's use input text with T capital, and here give the title, that is um, enter some text. And now let's use this text we have entered in this input box. So let's say we are using the pop error, E in capital, and let us write error is, and let use the variable which we have used to store the text we have written in that input box. So here it will give a dialog of error, and then it will have the text that is error is and the text we have written in the input text. So let's run it first. Save and run. Let us give the name ABC. Yes. Here let's say error is no data found, and then press OK. Here you can see the OK and cancel button. If you will press OK, it will store that text into my text. Here it is case sensitive, so it should be t smaller as our variable is my text. So let's run it again. No data found, and press OK. Error is no data found. Here you can see the cross button. So and if you are not giving any title, then it will have the Sikuli error in that dialog box title. So let me press OK, and it will return to the Sikuli script. Now let's use the select. So to use the select, first we have to define the options. So let's call a variable called my options, and let's store the variable options in that. And option should be in single quotes. So like if we are asking that what is your gender, then there should be two options, male or female. So let's give that option male and female, and then let's use this option in a select box. So let's call a variable to store the result of that select box, and then let's use the function select, and here let's give the text that choose your gender, and give the options as my options, so that it will pop up the box with the drop down which will have two options, that is male and female. And you can, whatever you will select, it will be stored in this variable result. You can also use this variable result in some other, like let's use the pop ask, and let's ask that did you choose male or female. It is not logical, but it is just to learn the use of this input and output tools. Press the question mark, and then it should be yes only. We can also save the result of this pop ask in some variable, but let me hold it here, and then let's run it. Let's run the whole script again. Save and run. Let's give the name that is Rachel. Hello Rachel, with the title hi. Then let's give that is no data found. Then it will have the text as error is no data found. Press OK, and then it will have the select dialog box with the title Sikuli selection. If you will give the title, then it will have that title in this dialog box. Then you can select this, like if you have select female, then press OK, and then it will have the pop ask dialog box, and it will ask that did you choose female. So you can press yes also, no also, whatever you choose. That result we can store it in a variable, and then we can use this in a conditional script afterwards. So this is how we can use this. Like All this input output tools we can use in our conditional statement, conditional scripts, and make the script more interactive and more meaningful. So now let's move forward with the conditional statements. Let's look into the conditional statements. For decision making, we use the if statement. It allows us to check if an expression is true or false. If it is true, we can take some action, otherwise we don't. Please note that Python uses indents to decide when code is inside of an if statement. That could be single space, but however, I suggest a one type of width for indent, as it makes our code easier to read and understand. Also note colon at the end of the if statement. It tells Python to expect an indent on the next statement. There are multiple comparison operators available. We can use these comparison operators for decision making with conditional statements like is equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So we will use these comparison operators in a script to check whether the condition has met or not. The, finally, the Alright, so we know how to use if statement. Let's take a look at two other statements that go hand in hand with if. Else statement is added at the end. So if the expression is true, do something, else do this instead. So it's simple. Finally, the ellipse statement. This statement allows us to check another expression if first one was false. So if true, then do something, else it will check for another expression, and if that expression is true, then do something different, and else do this instead. So we can combine as many ellipses in one if statement as we like. So now let's create our calculator automation which will use this conditional statements, and in that demo we will ask user at the beginning if they wish to add, subtract, multiply or divide. So let's move over to the Sikuli. So in this demo, we want to ask a user to take some action like if they want to add, multiply, subtract or divide. So for that, let's uh, define a variable called modes equal, and let's give the options to that variable, that is add, subtract, multiply and divide. Now let's um, define a variable called result to store the selection result. Let's use the window select to have the drop down of this modes. So let's give the text that choose the action and let's give the options as modes. So this will have one drop down which will have the text choose the action, and drop down will have the options add, subtract, multiply and divide, and whatever the user will select, it will be stored in this variable called result. So now we got the result. After that, the action is similar to our the previous demo, that is calculator automation. Like we have to open the calculate or click on Windows button, hit type calc and hit enter, and that would open the calculator. So these actions would be similar. So let's open that demo and copy those actions. That is our calculator demo v1. So let's open that and let me copy until this action would be similar. So let's copy this and paste it here. So what it will do is it will click on the windows, then it will wait for the search bar to appear on the screen. After that search bar comes up, it will type calc and hit enter, and after entering it will wait for this pattern to appear on the screen. So once the calculator appears, now let's say we want to add 5. I mean, we have two numbers, that is 5 and 5 or 5 or 2, whatever number you want to choose. You can any number you want to choose. So let's in this demo we will have two numbers, that is 5 and 2. So now let's first click on 5. So let's copy this image. Now click on that image and set target offset. Target offset will be the 5 button. And now click on OK. So let me check again whether it is 5 or not. Just, yeah, it is 5. So 5 is set. Now let's check whether user has um, asked for addition, subtraction, multiplication or division. So let's use the conditional statements here. Let's compare result in which our user action will be stored. So let's compare result with modes 0. Mode 0 will be add. So if user has selected mode 0, here if you have noticed, the indentation will be automatically comes up, and colon expect the next statement to be indented. So if user wants addition, then let's click on plus. Let me paste that image again and click on that image and set the target offset on plus. The image is not set the target offset here and click OK. Then let's use the another conditional statement, that is elif. Like if user has not selected addition but user has selected multiplication or division or subtraction, then let's compare it with if result is equal to modes of 1, that is subtraction. Here it is same like array. First is 0th element, uh, the second will be first, third will be second element, and fourth will be third element. So the subscript start with 0. So it will be always minus 1, less than 1 than the number of elements in that options. So here if it is modes 1, then click on, let me set the target offset here. We have to set the target offset to minus because we have selected minus. So let's set the target offset to minus and press OK. Now let's use elif again, that whether the result, whether the user has selected multiplication, that will be modes 2 because it is the third option. So if user has selected multiplication, then we have to click on multiplication side. So let's copy this and paste it again, and let's click on this and set the target offset to multiplication. So it will be this. Press OK. Now if user has not selected from this three option, then it is the last option, that is divide. So we can use the else here and then paste it again, and here we have to set the target offset on division. So set the target offset on division. Division is this. Now if else statement says completed. Now if you want to ask the user the number, then you can also ask that by using the input. Like let's call a variable, that is number 2 equal to input Like this, you can ask the user to input the number, and you can then add the conditions for all the numbers. Like if the number is 0, then press set the target offset on 0. If the number is 1, then set the target offset to 1. But as of now, let's uh, cancel this because it will be very lengthen our scripts. So as of now, let's use the number that is, let's say, 2, and let me paste it again, and then set the target offset to number 2, and then press OK, and then we have to click on equals to. So let's paste it again and set the target offset to equals. This is the equal sign, and then press OK. So our script is ready. Now let's save it first. It will be calculator v2, and let's save it, and now let's run it first. It is asking for the user action. So now first let's subtract it. Okay, it is opening the calculator. After opening the calculator, it is pressing 5, then minus 2 and equals. So we got the result, that is 3. Now let's run it again. First let's close this instance and let's run it again for another condition. Let's add it and press OK. So it should be added, and it is opening the calculator. 5 plus 2 and equals. So we got the result, that is 7. So that is right. Now let's close it again, and then let's run for multiplication. So this multiplication and subtraction, it will go in ellipse statements, and for addition it will go into the if statement. So here we got the result, that is 10. Now let's close this instance and let's check for division. Let's run it again and select the divide option, and let's press it OK. So it has opened the calculator. Now 5 divided by 2 and equals. So we got the result, that will be 2.5. So it is working correctly. So this is how we can use the statements and decision making in a script, and it can be dependent on the user action also. So we can take the consideration into the user action and then take the actions accordingly. So that's it for the conditional statements. In the next module, we will go for the conditional loops.